Can we do a lot of meditation tonight? I really need a glass of wine.
About 3 years ago, I had the privilege to visit a very special museum, the art museum, Chicago's museum. And I couldn't believe my eyes when I turned around and I looked down one of the hallways, and this beautiful painting, one that I've been admiring for many years, was hanging there in front of my eyes. I was, Monica, she couldn't believe my reactions because I was just totally out of myself. It was really something. So this painting from Hokusai, The Great Wave of Okinawa, is a painting that through all the years caught many people's attention. And then Roger Keyes wrote a beautiful poem. So I took out my phone and I got to the poem and I started reading the poem, and there were a lot of people around and everybody was reminding this painting with this poem. So it's a poem inviting us to observe, to notice. And in observing and noticing and being present, we find deeper levels and sources of wisdom, of meaning. So let's hear and find out how Roger Keyes looked at this painting. Hokusai says, look carefully. He says, pay attention, notice. He says, keep looking. Stay curious. He says there is no end to seeing. I must tell you, my inclination at this moment is just to do this and go out. This is actually all that this whole course was all about, is look carefully, attention, notice, looking, curiosity. There's no end to seeing. He says look forward to getting old. Now think of the wave going to the beach. Look forward to getting old. Keep changing as a wave. You just get more who you really are the older you get. He says get stuck, accept it, repeat yourself as long as it's interesting. He says keep doing what you love. He says keep praying. He says every one of us is a child. Every one of us is ancient. Every one of us has a body. He says every one of us is frightened. If you look at these boats and the people on the boats, the wave on the way, everyone is frightened. He says every one of us has to find a way to live with fear. He says everything is alive. Shells and buildings and people and fish, mountains, trees, wood is alive. Water is alive. Everything has its own life. Everything lives inside us. He says live with the world inside you. He says it doesn't matter if you draw or write books. It doesn't matter if you saw wood or catch fish. It doesn't matter if you sit at home and stare at the ants on the veranda, or the shadows of the trees or the grasses in your garden. It matters that you care. It matters that you feel. It matters that you notice. It matters that life lives through you. Contentment is life living through you. Joy is life living through you. Satisfaction and strength is life living through you. Peace is life living through you. He says, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Look, feel. Let life take you by the hand. Let life live through you. So the invitation for us this evening is the invitation to observe, to notice, to let life live through us as it is, not the way that we want it to be or expect it to be, but as it is, knowing that the whole world and all the resources are deeply embedded in each one of us. We're going to start with a sound meditation, so I ask you to just sit in a way that exudes something of dignity and also just being at rest and relaxed, feeling your body being pulled down by gravity, just settling down, feeling anchored with your feet on the ground, maybe imagining your feet growing roots down into the earth, really connected with the earth. Softening maybe the areas in your body where you feel bracing or tightness. You can even move your body a bit if you feel certain areas with tenseness. Bringing a sense of gratitude maybe to your body. The intention of this meditation is presence. All presence is one presence, so that is how we are all connected. Despite physical and geographical distance, we are all connected on a fundamental level through presence. I'm going to ring the bell and also play the sound bowl in between sometimes, just to invite you to presence. Every time that we hear the sound of the bell or the sound bowl, it's an invitation to bring the focus of attention to this moment, to this sound, without judging, just accepting it as it is. But let's first take a deep breath and just experience the sense of breathing, the gift of breath, the grace of breath, free around us. Just noticing the rhythm and the depth of your breath, allowing the breath and the rhythm to comfort you, to hold you. The felt experience of thought, the feeling, the sensing doesn't require any thought. There is a deeper kind of knowing. As you breathe in effortlessly, and as you breathe out, an invitation to let go, the quality of letting go. Just get a feel of what it means and what it feels to let go with the out breath. Not thinking about it, not doing it so much as letting the stream of energy just flow with the out breath, with a deep, relaxing, connecting sensation. Checking in with your heart at this moment, bringing some generosity to yourself, allowing whatever emotion is there at this moment, even if there are thoughts popping up in your mind, whatever it is, welcome them. Be curious and then let go. Just be with yourself and whatever comes with kindness. moving our attention now to hearing. And let's try to fine-tune our sense of hearing now. Maybe there are sounds in the room where you are. Maybe subtle sounds or a prominent sound. Maybe sounds outside. If there are no sounds, just registering and noticing no sounds. Becoming aware of the spaces perhaps between sounds. Try to pick up the raw texture of sounds without labeling it, listening as if it is music that you never heard before. Not labeling the sound good or bad, like or dislike. Practicing presence, keeping our attention on the sound and the spaces between the sound without judgment in this moment. If you feel you're being hijacked by any thoughts, with kindness and generosity to yourself, just invite your attention back to listening, focused listening, being present in this moment without labeling, without judging. Sounds come and go, thoughts come and go. We are not the sounds, we are not our thoughts, but we can stay present and attentive to the sound, to the thoughts, in this present moment, finding our identity in the listening, in the awareness, always rooted and grounded in awareness. Emotions come and go, thoughts come and go. We don't grasp on it, we don't cling to thoughts or emotions, just noticing as sounds come and goes, we open to this moment. Michael Singer said, You have a mental dialogue going on inside of you. Your head never stops. There is nothing more important to true growth than realizing that you are not the voice of your mind. You are the one who hears. If you don't understand this, you will try to figure out which of the many things the voice says is really you. People go through so many changes in the name of trying to find myself. They want to discover which of these voices, which of these aspects of their personality is who they really are. The answer is simple. None of them. You can slowly open your eyes and become present to this room, the connectedness between us and also your true self. We started with a sound meditation. At the end I'll take you an overview of all the different kinds of meditations we did in the 6 weeks. There were about 9 of them already, different kinds. And you don't have to like all of them. It's like a buffet. Some of them will work with you and others they don't work so well. Some like moving meditations like we did last time a bit, the yoga moves kind of meditations. Others like the eating meditation. I heard some people this, just as we started liking that. Some would really find the sound meditation deeply grounding and also revealing. Did you pick up also the same as Hokusai said, that if you just notice the waves and the artwork, how much depth and wisdom came from that that painting. And the same happened now just with sounds. Just listening to sounds and being aware of sounds coming and going and finding our true self in that. And why I chose the sound meditation is that we're going to focus in the beginning just on relationships. And you can just imagine how important listening is when we focus on relationships. But I think really the biggest gifts that we can give to one another by far is the 2 wings of mindfulness. The gift of presence and the gift of compassion or loving kindness. We call it love. We also use the attitude of acceptance. But with these 2 wings, imagine that if any person that you meet, you approach the person with only these 2 wings, totally focused, to be present with your whole being, with all the senses present, but also the way that you are present is not in a critical way, not to break down, but with kindness. But that would be only kind of have the success of what happens, because what should happen is that you should not only be aware of the other person, but to make it really meaningful, you have to be aware of yourself as well. What's going on inside me? In what way am I approaching this situation? If I'm angry, or if I'm sad, or if I'm worried, or my thoughts are somewhere else, and I'm in a conversation, and I'm not aware that my thoughts are there, and I'm actually in a hurry, I will not be able to be fully present. And just the acknowledgement, at least, of who I am, where I am, the 2 wings, present without judging myself, I can tell somebody, sorry, it's difficult for me to be fully present, I've got this something, or I can just at least keep it in mind. I'm angry now, so the way that I'm going to be in this conversation will be from that place. Daniel Siegel wrote the book end of last year, Intra-Connecting. And the interesting thing about this word intra-connected means intra, connected with myself, but connecting is kind of the horizontal way of connecting. And he uses the two words. These are words that he created. The word intra-connected, and the second one is mui. It's me and we together is mui. Because either if you only focus on the other person without being aware of your own inner states, then the possibility is that you will not be true in this conversation and don't know how to react in the situation. I'd like to show you something, a short video that Eckhart Tolle used in the beginning of a retreat. It's only 5 minutes, so enjoy how he says something about this connection. That's the most important thing in the beginning.
One reason why on some retreats complete silence is imposed as a general rule. There are some retreats when you're not supposed to talk at all to anybody except when you ask a question, if there are questions. Here I leave it up to you. Some people prefer that, but it's actually quite good to still be able to interact. If you don't want to be in silence, it gives you a chance, interacting with people gives you a chance to observe yourself while you interact with people on a verbal level. And so this is a challenge that I suggest that you embrace that challenge as you go back into your daily life and treat human interaction as a practice to stay present even while you speak. The alertness needs to be there so that in addition to the thoughts that you are expressing to the other person, there's a continuing awareness of the underlying presence in yourself. Another way of putting it, you could say there are little spaces in between the thoughts. You express something, and even when you come to the end of a sentence, there's a momentary gap, and in that momentary gap the mind is still. Then you start speaking again, and when you listen to the other person, you're alert and still, so you're not dragged into a mind stream. You're able to use the mind and use words without identifying. Identifying means your sense of self becomes lodged in them. So you speak, which are verbalized thoughts, without identifying with the thoughts. That is the skill, and that is how you stay present during an interaction, which is a vital skill, because otherwise the only time you can be present or conscious is when people leave you alone and you're not being challenged by anybody. And then you say, okay, well, I need more alone time to really practice. No. To really practice and to deepen your practice, you need to bring it into your interactions with people. If you had more alone time, I mentioned it briefly the other day, if you lived in a beautiful cabin halfway up the mountain, somebody brought you food once or twice a day, nothing to worry about, yes, you would be able to sustain a certain level of presence that's probably greater than you would be able to sustain in your daily life, but it wouldn't go very deep. At the slightest challenge, you would lose it again. So then you would have to demand that life no longer challenges you, but that's just not going to happen. So it's so important in your interactions with people to always realize what in my interaction, it doesn't matter what it is, in my interaction, what is it that really matters? What is of primary importance and what is of secondary importance? Most people have no idea about that. they believe whatever they are talking about is of primary importance, but it's not. Of primary importance is your underlying state of consciousness while you speak, because that determines the whole nature and quality of the interaction. So your the primary importance is to remain aware while you speak, to have whatever words you want to use to point to it, express it, whether you use Gurdjieff self-remembrance or use the word presence or alert stillness in the background, you know what it is. And that of primary importance is to bring this dimension into every interaction, and that connects you also with the other human on the level of essence identity. And then in every encounter, you could say that what really matters is the meeting between two humans, and to meet the other on the level of essence identity. And from there, what it was secondary importance, whatever the subject matter is that you need to deal with, whatever it is, whether it's just an exchange of opinions, to clarify something, to come to a decision about something, to tell a person that something is wrong, that could be something could be done about it. Pointless to tell a person that something's wrong if nothing can be done about it. It's just more ego, and that would not come in anymore if you remain aware. So in any encounter, if you want to bring the transcendent dimension into your whole life, which is vital, what really matters, whatever you are discussing or talking about with another person, is of secondary importance. All that evaporates very quickly anyway. Whatever is important now, next year, in some cases tomorrow, in some cases next month, next year, or in 100 years' time, which isn't that much, will be of no importance whatsoever.
So I think what we hear is the importance of presence, and that connectedness between people, that's the primary importance. The way of being present, and you can pick it up. Actually, everybody can pick it up, but we're not so aware of it. If you're in a conversation with somebody, you can kind of just look at people or look at somebody, and they're not really here. But there is a way that you can be present, where you really can focus with all your attention, all your senses on this deeper connection, and that connection is the basis of everything. That's actually what it's all about. And if you're open to the fact that presence is in all of us, then you can go open to the wonderful connection with every person. Doesn't matter what the exchange is so much. It's more that deeper level that's the first and primary importance. So, and the impact is, if you focus on that, you'll see that deeper connection growing, and you'll see there will be better listening. Because if you are so focused on the connection, and that person is so important to you, you will absolutely focus everything on listening. And there are many different aspects to listening. The passive listening, having your eyes focusing on somebody else and how your body is at that moment, but also active listening, so the way that you ask questions and do not interrupt and stay silent and all those other things, that will come naturally if you are really connected to that person. To remember all those things, I should look into the eyes, I should do this, that's very difficult. But if you just focus on the true connection, it will come on its own. And you'll also see how much adaptability and flexibility comes in the meeting, because
You really want to find out what the other person think and your own words. That's not the primary thing. My ideas and my thoughts and my perspective on whatever we are talking about, that's not the primary thing. The connection is. That's why I'm not grasping to what I say. I can, okay, this is my idea, and what you, oh, interesting, because there's something else. That's the bottom line. So I can be more adaptable and flexible. It's not saying that I don't believe what I say. That's what I believe, but I'm open to more and less judgmental in the whole process, because it's not about just the content of what we're talking about. It's more about this deeper connection, and there is much less reacting in such a conversation, because if somebody tells you something, even criticizes you, and you're aware of the deeper connection between you and the other person, and that person is criticizing me, that's the basis. So I can take it in, and it's the same as thoughts, the same as sounds. It comes and it goes. I don't have to grasp it. I can evaluate it and say, okay, you know, you're right, or I don't think so. But still, that basis is there. So interactions is just totally different. Just for interest's sake, the theory for the amount of positive feedback in a healthy relationship, there must be about 5 positives to 1 negative. You know, if you look at some of the parents, the amount of time that parents sometimes talk to their children, how many times they say, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, and how many times do they have like positive interaction? But you know, if the basis is we are connected, that will come naturally. But that's just an interesting way to look at it. Okay, so the one side of it is presence, but the other side is absence. And if I'm absent of myself and we're absent in a conversation, that's really something. And I want to show you just a short video of Keith Berry. It's a very interesting, it was a live show that, what do you call it? I mean, it's like a live drama, or but there's a way.
Soap opera?
No, it's not a play. It was like a live recording. Yeah, it's a live recording of a situation. And what the situation is, he asked 2 guys to go on a blind date. But what they did not know is that the person that they're going to have the blind date with was actually an actress and another actress. So what they did is, in the beginning of the conversation, they don't know about the cameras being there and what's going to happen. She spilled something on her dress, and she's got a blue dress on. Then she goes out just to clean up, and she comes back with a blue dress, just to see if from green to blue, if he will notice it. And so both guys, you'll see if they notice it. They didn't actually. And then the waiter comes, and the waiter stands there and so on, and she's blonde and the other one's a brunette. Then she gets a phone call, says, oh sorry, it's a friend of mine, she's in trouble, just give me a while. And she goes out again. And then the waiter and the lady with whom he has the blind date, they change around. Like the blonde comes back to the table, and the brunette is the waiter, and they just see if these 2 guys pick it up, and you will see what happens. And in the end, Keith Berry took a lady on a blind date, and he used focused attention of really giving presence and attention, and you can just see the difference in the interaction between the 2.
You mind if I interrupt you for a second?
No, it's
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So how's it going for you?
It's not that great.
Not that great. No. Why is it not going great for you?
He doesn't know my name.
He doesn't know your name.
Melissa.
You really think that's Melissa?
Yes.
No. William, that's Melissa. That's your waitress.
All right.
Look, she's got blonde hair. She's got brown hair. You remember now? When she went to the bathroom, they switched places.
Okay.
So William's problem? He experienced inattentional blindness.
Jason, that's not Melissa. That's Melissa. This is your waitress. Do you remember when Melissa went to the bathroom? They switched places. See, she's blonde hair. She's got brown hair. You have no idea that your actual date and changed places with a completely different person? Be honest.
I couldn't probably even tell you what those girls really looked like right now. I thought it was the same girl. If there was a waitress, it could. Something felt like it might not have been right, but I didn't care, and it seemed like it was. I still thought her name was Melissa, the girl I was sitting next across from. I just wasn't really paying attention.
I've asked a dating company to send out a single girl on a blind date. All she knows is she's going on a show about dating. What she doesn't know is I'm her date, and her world is quite literally about to change. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. I have a quick question for you, if that's okay.
Sure.
It's almost like a little game. Is it okay if we play a game? I know it's just mixed, but...
Yeah, we can play the game.
All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to just close your eyes, if you will. And what color are my eyes?
Blue.
Blue. Okay, open up your eyes. Good. I have a couple more questions for you. Where are you originally from?
I was born in Los Angeles about 20 days after my parents got here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And where are they originally from?
They're from Iran.
And do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have one younger brother.
What age is he?
He just turned 21.
I've got Shuka's attention so focused on me that she doesn't even realize that the Chinese restaurant she sat down in is being transformed.
Tell me, what hobbies do you have?
Karaoke?
Karaoke? Really? Karaoke? You bring me some night?
Of course.
Is it okay? You're an eternal singer, though.
I'm worse, trust me. We'll just have a competition on who would be worse.
And tell me, what kind of movies do you like?
What kind of movies? My favorite movie of all time is a movie called Quills.
Quills?
Mhm.
I haven't seen that. What's it about?
It's about the Marquis de Sade. It's kind of about if you're like passionate about something that nothing can stop you.
Okay, time to break Shuka's focus.
Have a look around you.
Holy crap. I swear to God, I was not here 5 minutes ago.
You know where it is?
No. I was in a Chinese restaurant, yeah?
What if I told you this, Shuka? You were in a Chinese restaurant, and then when we had that conversation, I looked right between your eyes, directly at the bridge of your nose. It created a tunnel vision effect between us. The whole world just faded away. And when the whole world faded away, we changed the whole room from the Chinese restaurant into the Mexican restaurant you were now sitting in.
And all this happened within like a 5-minute conversation.
Yep.
In this room while I was here.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way.
Okay, that just gives you a picture of absence, and that happens so many times, especially with people that you know, your children that you usually see, or the grandchildren, or somebody else, because we meet them through our thoughts, when we think they are, but not in this moment as they are. And that absence really is a huge thing, because then we go on autopilot. We're not present with that person at that moment, how that person feels and how I'm feeling at that moment. And the depth dimension gets lost. It's there, but we're not aware of that, and that doesn't build on the situation. And the thoughts can be blocking the connection. The thoughts of the previous experiences, or what we have, or what we think of somebody, that gets into the way of and then you get this catastrophic disconnection. But the other thing is, we need then awareness of ourselves, and being present with our inner state, and especially if we can practice to get to know the pathway to your inner silence. All of you, we do have inner silence. You have peace always with you, but we don't always know the pathway to that silence. It's always there, it's always with us. Even in turmoil and in storms, there is a way to find that pathway. But if you're not familiar with that path, then it'll be more difficult. But if you can be silent, even in difficult situations, or in turmoil, or even if you're under stress, and you can just experience that connection. For me, for instance, before I preach, or sometimes while I'm presenting something and I feel, now the stress is going up, I try to get hold of that inner peace by feeling my feet on the ground, feeling the connectedness, and it's as if one just get to a different level of being at that moment. So egolessness, we'll come to that, and just your own vulnerability. You don't have to show something or be something because of that, the way that you let go of your ego. We'll come to that. As he said, it's so beautiful, Eckhart Tolle saying, that every interaction is a possible meditation. Many people say, I don't have time for meditation. Things are just going on from one to the other. But every interaction is a possibility for you to practice presence, to practice listening, to listen to the gaps, the same way that we listen to the sounds that came and how it went. And if you have a child, it's a free 20-year retreat. How is that? I'm going to go past this. Just a last short thing on conflict, because that will bring us to the next part of what we're going to think of today, is that the egoic sense of self needs conflict. The ego needs conflict because it's a sense of separate identity gets strengthened in fighting against this or that, in demonstrating that this is me and that's not me. So the ego likes disconnection. You know, the whole idea of what we spoke about just now was connection and being aware of that connection. But the ego goes the other way. I just want to say, I'm on my own and I'm disconnected. Built on that very structure of the egoic self is a need to oppose, to resist, to exclude, to maintain the sense of separateness on which is continuous survival depends. The ego can only survive when it is on its own. So there is me against the other, us against them. It's usually groups as well, because I'm of this party and these are of that party. I'm for this team and I'm for that team. The against thing. And then when you can be in one party but you can really listen to the other, that's the way that we are called for. If you are a Republican and a staunch Republican, but you can be present with a Democratic, somebody from the Democratic Party, and you can really listen. And the primary connection is that human connection that we share, the presence. Then there can be true interaction. But you see, it's ego, us against them. The ego needs to be in conflict with something or someone, and that explains why we are looking for peace and joy and love and cannot tolerate them for very long. So we don't want peace and love because the ego, I just want to fight somebody so that I can feel I am on my own and I am who I am. So I think it's just the basic thing. For all the presentations that we had, with meeting the difficult and making the most of the opportunities, making the most of interactions, presence and compassion. Those two things can really change your interactions. I'm going to do a short loving kindness meditation, just to get a feel for this this feeling tone of kindness and connection. So you can again just close your eyes and let's just breathe in deeply and breathe out, and in the breathing out we feel the connectedness to each other, even those watching now online and later. We are deeply connected, essence connected, in silence, in presence, connected over distance, over time, shared humanity, shared presence. Now bring to mind someone that you feel close to, someone that makes you happy, someone with whom you feel at ease or at peace. Could be a relative, a close friend, a child, even a pet or a cat if you want to. Just the sense of that person now in front of you. Try to feel them or see them if it's possible in your imagination. And notice the feeling inside. If there is anything, Maybe warmth. What about a smile? This welcoming presence, something of loving kindness. Now I'd like to invite you to use a few words. I will say a few words that you can use as a blessing, or just a few words wishing them well. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live at ease. May you flourish. If you want to use other words, just wishing them well. And be aware in the wishing them well what happens in your body, in your inner world, as you wish them well. Maybe get a sense of color or light or images and the feeling. Maybe less stress or anxiety, less fearful in the presence of that person. Now imagine that person, or if you have a cat or dog, let's try them as well, turns around and sends back to you the following. To you, may you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. May you flourish. What is the feeling tone inside when you experience the best wishes of the other person for you? And now, if you can, try to wish yourself well with the same words. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. May I flourish. Maybe other words you want to wish yourself at this moment. Presence, kindness. Let us make the circle wider now, thinking of people that you know that you don't have maybe a very good relationship with, or even wider, people far away that's not directly connected, but just becoming aware of them. Maybe a specific person or a face comes up in your mind and in your imagination, inviting you and asking for a wish, for a prayer. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. May you flourish. That feeling tone that you felt inside, the connectedness, that is something of what Eckhart Tolle spoke in his presentation of that deeper connection. If we can be aware of that connection in our interaction, and that can be the base of everything. But there is one key secret, and as you saw in my invitation, the secret to liberation.
And so I think really many of the things that we experience in our lives is actually from only one big problem, from many of the problems that we experience. And that is from the reason that we get our identity sometimes from external things. We attach our identity to our name, or to our possessions, to our personality, to our gender, to our beliefs, to our roles, our social status, our popularity, whatever. And if this is, let's say, if this is whatever you think is, let's say, your opinions or your emotional state or whatever you think, this is my identity, and life does this to it, scrunching it, and you feel this is what's happening to me. You can just imagine what happens if you attach your identity to one of these things. That's what you feel, this is happening to me. And you can just imagine the amount of anxiety that happens, that comes about, fear, stress, and all the other emotions, because this is me, this is happening to me. And if you lose, let's say, possessions that you put your identity on, then you lose yourself. And it's so interesting that Erich Fromm said, if I am what I have and I lose what I have, then who am I? So think of many things that people put their identity on. Even really important things like your health. What if you lose your health? Are you then without any identity, any worth? Can you really use that as the basis of your identity? Can you use your age, your work, even the people around you, your husband or your wife or your children or your friends? Can you really? Many people do that. And it's, the question, is that really love or is it dependence? Can there be a way that we can find our identity, but there is an interconnectedness, but then we do not lose ourselves, our deepest sense of being, our identity, when anything changes, when thoughts or emotions or health or other huge impacts come over our lives, we still keep our identity. It's like something like this. If I have this $5 and this happens to the $5, I can still use the $5. It's got still the same value. The identity is still there, even though you think it lost it, but it didn't. It still has the full value. And I really think, and I must say, I'm so lost with words in my preparation, because how do I describe who am I? That deepest question of who am I? Maybe just gonna stop it there, because the I that I'm describing is not so tangible. It is the seer, not the object of what I'm seeing. And it's difficult to describe that. It's like describing love. You can't actually describe love. You've got to feel it. You've got to experience it. And the concept of egolessness and the effect of egolessness and not finding your identity in things, if you experience that, the freedom of that, if you taste it, you say, wow, for this moment I'm not going to be clinching onto this or that. Let's say you find your identity in your car. You find somebody that does that, and somebody comes and they scratch your car. It feels as if your identity has been scratched. I remember when my house burned down, our house burned down, and then, I don't know why, but newspapers afterwards, and there were some magazines, and there were radio, they contacted me, and I had to have talks on that. And I thought,
No, what's the issue about that? You know, I was insured, and we could replace most of the things actually with new things. There are things that's much worse than what I went through. And I spoke to a friend of mine that's a spiritual director, and I said, what's the issue about this? I can't understand it. Everybody makes this a big issue. He says, his reply was, many people see their identity in their possessions. And for them it would have been as if my identity goes up in flames. And for some people it's in my car, and if my car is in a crash, it's my identity in a crash. And if you're in traffic and somebody comes for my car, you're coming for me, and I get absolutely agitated. But can you imagine what the amazing freedom it is to be egoless? And not to find my ego in my car, or in being right, or in my reputation, in my wealth, or in my health, or whatever. But my deepest being in this connectedness, in awareness that's always there. The container, not the content. And so as Buddha said, no self, no problem. And he said, nothing should be clung to as I, me, or my. No self, no problem. And you know, Jesus also used it many times. Jesus emptied himself. Colossians 2:7. And Jesus taught the path, the way of the cross. And in other religions, it's the same. There is an amazing liberation. And I really don't have the words, and I wish I had a way to convey it. The only thing is, I want to invite you to taste the freedom of what it means to be egoless. And with this word ego, it's the unhealthy, the superficial, the outside ego, the false ego. There is the true self that is connected with each other, with God, with everything. That's the deepest stillness and awareness that cannot be touched by anything or anyone or any situation, no matter what happens. But to taste that egolessness is just the absolute liberation that I think Jesus and Buddha and many other people called us for. And there's just Thich Nhat Hanh, for instance, he described it in this way. And it's sometimes difficult for people when they read the Eastern scriptures on emptiness. You should be empty. And that's exactly the idea of egolessness. But Thich Nhat Hanh, he died just 2 weeks ago. He used the concept of a tree. If you just think about it, a tree is actually just made of earth. You know, it was a seed, and it took everything from the earth. Okay, the seed before that was just also taken from the earth, some water, and there are the light and some air. That's all. And then when it dies, it goes back to water, earth, air, light. It goes back to nothing. But it's emerged for that while, and then it's still, but it's not gone. It's just in a different way. And it's so beautiful. I'm going to just read what he said about it. He said, even when the cloud is not there, it continues as snow or rain. It's impossible for the cloud to die. It can become rain or ice. It cannot become nothing. The cloud does not need to have a soul in order to continue. There's no beginning, there's no end. I will never die. There will be a dissolution of the body, but that does not mean my death. So the whole concept of just the freedom of not clinging to my envisioned, my thoughts, my idea of myself. You see, that's the idea. That's what's happening. I've got this idea of who I am and what my thoughts are, my ideas are, and everybody must think as I think, or I find my identity in something external. But the freedom of letting that go. And the thing is, it takes a process, and it takes some time. But the more you get that right, the freedom that you get is just unbelievable. Anything can happen to you. That's why, as Ken Wilber said, I have a body, but I am not my body. I can see and feel my body. What can be seen and felt is not the true seer. The true seer, the one that's aware of it. My body may be tired or excited, sick or healthy, heavy or light, but that has nothing to do with my inward I. I have a body, but I am not my body. So even if I'm sick, it doesn't mean that I lose value. I can be aware of it. The same with my desires. I am not my desires. Let's go to the next one. I have emotions, but I am not my emotions. I can feel and sense my emotions. But what can be felt and sensed is not the true feeler. Emotions pass through me. They do not affect my inward I. I have emotions, but I am not my emotions. So you can have a lot of emotions, huge emotions. Anger or sadness or depression or ecstasy and joy, whatever. That's not who you are. The one that you are is the one that's aware, that's always grounded. So I know it's difficult words. Let me end with one interesting poem. I am not I. I am this one, walking beside me, whom I do not see, whom at times I manage to visit, and whom at other times I forget, who remains calm and silent while I talk. The deeper awareness, the deeper silence that stays calm and silent while I talk, and forgives and gently when I hate, who walks where I am not, who walks where I am not, who will remain standing when I die. That deeper part that never goes away. And if we see our identity and we define ourselves new, and we taste what it is not to define ourselves by our looks, by our health, by our finances, by all the other things, external things, we find a depth level of liberation that cannot be put into words. And sorry, I also don't have any words to describe or take you on this path, but I hope you get a taste and an invitation. And we all have that. We all have the true I, and the true self is there. And I think we find that for those who are spiritually minded, we find that in the cosmic Christ, in God's self. So let's end with liberation. Oh yeah, just this one thing. If you find that you've got this ego in some form of your life, sometimes in some areas it's fine, but then in this way you find, and the way that you pick up the ego is usually in emotions that just flare up. If you find emotions that just out of the ordinary, in whichever way, you must be finely tuned. Say, isn't this perhaps a message from my inner world? Don't be angry about this emotion. It's wonderful. Oh yes, great! I got this emotion. It says there, yeah, it's an ego. I can work with this ego. How do you work with the ego? You only observe it. Don't find it. You will lose. It's powerful. It's clever. And one of the places where it's the most slew, I don't know if that's a word, but it's like a snake, you know. It is in religion. You know, I'm better than you and I'm more spiritual than you. But if you find those emotions telling you, giving you the message, there's ego. The way to get rid of the ego is just to observe it. Just observing. Not fighting, not running away, not escaping it. Just observe what it does. I say, okay, when the ego comes, like my car, and I get very angry when a guy goes in front of me, look at my ego. Oh, it's interesting. So the ego gets so angry. And then I don't feel well, and I feel agitated for the rest of the day, and I think of that guy, and I'm putting my own life into difficult situation because I want to just come from behind and bump him from behind. And and the evening I lie awake because I want to think, next time if that guy comes, I'm going to run him off the road. And you've got this nice fantasies and all that thing. So all you do is just being aware of what that ego does. And that's all. Don't fight. Just see what it does and you will see. Just because you get distance and you look it from the side, the deeper eye is in control. I found it many times. I've got to do it over and over with my preaching and presenting. Over and over my ego comes, you should be good, you should be well prepared, you should not fail, you should not make mistakes, your English should be good. The whole time, everything just comes over and over. And the whole time, the only way for me to get to live with this ego is to see, do you see, if that ego is like that, it creates anxiety, and it makes your body feel unease, and you will feel it in the tenseness, and you won't be present in your life, and you're going to miss all the beauty outside, and so on can go on. So just look, so that's exactly, it's because that ego wants that, you're missing out on your life, and that's the effect of it. You don't have to do anything, just observe that ego, and it will get into its place on its time. And it will come another day, but that freedom. If you just tasted it, and sometimes it comes back again, you forget, and then we try it again. So let's end with a short overview of our 6-week course, and I'll just quickly go through it. I think the basis, if you only remember this, the affectionate attention or presence and compassion, the 2 wings, then I really think you will be able to approach many things. Even your ego. It's exactly what we did now. Everything, can you imagine everything that we looked at? Relationships and hardships and beauty and ego and whatever. If you approach it with presence and with compassion, even your ego, don't fight it, then you will see there's power in love, there's power in presence. And that's what we've been talking about, because it's a focus on awareness. Awareness is connection with my inner world, with my thoughts, with my financial, social, all the aspects of my life. But awareness is in control. That is the center. And if you're unaware, there's no connections. I don't know what's going on in my body, in my relationships, or whatever, where I am. Then I miss my appointment with life, and we're not awake. I think Eckhart Tolle, what he said here, this quote is really important, and I won't read the whole one, but the greatest obstacle in experiencing the reality of our connectedness is identification with mind. We give too much space and focus on let our minds be in control, your thoughts and be in control, because being so much caught up by our thoughts and our emotions causes a thought to become compulsive, incessant mental noise that prevents you from finding the realm of inner stillness that is inseparable from being. And it creates a false mind-made self and casts a shadow of fear and suffering. And then it makes this identification with mind, creates concepts, labels, images, words, and judgments, definitions that blocks through relationship. Can you see? That's exactly because I'm not here through my presence, my senses. I'm here through my images, labels, and judgments. And then it becomes a hindrance between you and other people, between you and yourself, you and fellow men and women, between you and nature, and you and God. That's why people miss our God. I really think, and I'm sorry, this is the spiritual part of it, and so let's keep it a bit wider. But I really think, for those who are spiritually minded, if we're really present, I think that's the reason why we can't see God, in the sense of, because God is so much everywhere. It's like a fish in water on the one hand, and the other hand, it's God is everywhere. And I think if we really open our eyes to see that God can be met in every moment, in every person, in nature, in silence, in storms, in hardships, in many places, then I really think it's all presence and it's all love. This is the disease, he says. You believe you are your mind. This is the delusion. The instrument has taken over. So, if that happens, whatever happens, what we usually do, we fight it. We fight our emotions we don't like, or situations that we don't like. We flight away from it. We freeze, and it's just, this wave just hits me, and I just tumble around. Or I numb it with alcohol or other substances. That's the way that we usually do. But we are invited to stand in a new relationship, moving towards whatever comes. Not towards to fight, not away, not let it just run over us, because it's not the content, it's about the room that creates the content. I'm going to show just one video, and I think that will give us just a case to remind you.
And one way of sitting with this busy mind and allowing it to settle is to do a fofbog. Feet on floor, bum on chair. This practice trains us to keep our attention in the here and now, in what is actually happening, by staying as best we can with the physical sensations we notice in the body. You start by placing your attention.
So that's the second part. The part just before that was that all the different animals come into the room, all your different thoughts, and let's say the elephant comes in, and the chimpanzee come in, and whatever comes in. What we usually try is to turn around. We don't want to know about it, or we want to fight it. You can't fight with it. And the invitation is just sit down and look at the elephant. Look at these thoughts. Observe. You remember the picture of the guys looking at the mind? That's all. Just observe what's happening. The natural intelligence inside and wisdom will change, and that will make the difference. Okay, I'll just quickly remind you about this. Pain times resistance. The importance of acceptance. Because the more that you resist, the less than that we accept, the more suffering you create. The amount of suffering, the pain, we can't do anything about the pain. There will be pain, physical, emotional, and other ways. There will be pain. But the more resistance we have towards it, the more suffering we have. Then remind about the two arrows. The first arrow you can't do anything about, but the second arrow, that's our reaction to it. Now let's leave that one. So we have a lot of habits, and that keeps us from really getting into this the resources that we all have. And that's why meditation is there, and we use meditation to practice the two wings. That's actually all that we do. So in meditation, every time, whatever meditation you use, let's look at those meditations that there is. So we did the 3-minute breathing space, the hourglass, or you do breath meditation. We did a body scan, we did movement, we did the mindful eating, we did the mountain meditation, loving kindness, we did a sound meditation, and we're going to end with these two together this evening. Whatever meditation, or if you use interaction at life, or whatever you do, you can actually use driving as a meditation. Being present, being aware, putting your focus on whatever you're doing. If any thoughts come by, just observe it, and it comes and goes. And what you are practicing the whole time is who you are. I am not my thoughts. I am not my feelings. I am not my body. I am more. I'm creating space. And in this space, things come and go, and I'm deeply connected and grounded. So let's end with this meditation. That's one that I developed myself, and really, for me, it means a lot, and I use it a lot. It's a very easy kind of meditation. With your in-breath, you just become aware of whatever is in your mind and in your inner world at that moment. So with the in-breath, you become aware of anything inside. I get the image of a satellite dish, anything there. And then with the out-breath, I relax and feel the connectedness with the earth, with people around me, with a spiritually connectedness with the out-breath. With the in-breath, just becoming aware anything in my thoughts, in my emotions, just the satellite dish. And if there's nothing, relaxing, connecting, silence. Up and in, space awareness, anything in space. And out, silence, in your own rhythm, stillness. Breathing in, just being aware of anything in your inner world. Breathing out on your own time, connected, at ease, at peace. Breathing in, whatever comes up, welcome, let it go. And now, if possible, try to get a sense of both at the same time. At the same time, as you breathe, being aware of whatever is in your inner world and feeling connected at the same time. Connected and aware. Connected and aware. Awake and compassion. Presence, compassion. Connected and aware. And if this becomes a way of living in every moment, always connected. Always connected to the deep resources in our inner being. And always aware of our inner world with compassion. So just a last invitation, if you want to proceed with the process of practicing these two wings, you're welcome. There's free Insight Timer app that you can download for yourself, and there are 500,000 plus meditations, and there are many courses that you can follow. It's really worthwhile. I've been using it for many years. You can also pay something and then you can do more, but it's really worthwhile if you want to use that. And if those of you that's not part of Christ Community Reformed Church and you want to donate, you're welcome to go to our website, CCRC. You can just Google CCRC Clifton Park and go on the right hand, you'll find giving, and just you can just label it mindfulness if you in any way want to give your support to the Mindfulness Center. And I think it's time to end with a last short poem. Enough. Enough. These few words are enough. If not these words, this breath. If not this breath, this sitting here. This opening to life, we have refused again and again until now. Until now. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
You mentioned last week.
Oh, the book. Yes, here it is. Here it is. Mindfulness, Finding Peace in a Frantic World by Mark Williams. As I told you, it's really an amazing, amazing person. Professor in psychology, Oxford. It comes with a CD with meditations, basically all the kind of meditations that we have that you can just listen. You've got a link to the website where you can also get it. It's 8 chapters, I think. Really well written, very, very good, scientifically based. And as I told you, I met him personally. I can really vouch for the person, the character of this person. He also presents retreats at the Anglican Church. He's a lay priest, although he's a professor. He also does that, and it's really a worthwhile book if you want to go and learn more. Thank you for asking, Harriet, and thank you as well.